Are you looking for the best Samsung phones? In this video we will look at some of the 6 best Samsung phones on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra takes smartphone features further than any other phone. It's a top performer, and in so many ways you won't find better. It has longer battery life and faster performance than the iPhone, more camera options than any other Android, and features we don't often see, like the S Pen stylus. Design: the Galaxy S24 Ultra is a big, heavy phone, even with the new titanium frame. Samsung still manages to pack so much inside, and the design improvements are welcome. The display is easier to read this year, and the titanium finish and colors are very nice, though it's too bad the phone couldn't shave some weight. Display: the bright, OLED display on the Galaxy S24 Ultra is one of the best you'll find, especially with the new coating that reduces glare and makes it easier to read in bright light. Samsung's display is colorful, sharp, and bright enough for every task. Camera: there have been plenty of changes to Samsung's cameras, even if the spec sheet looks the same as last year. The Galaxy S24 Ultra produced better images in every setting. Portrait and landscape photos look a lot better, and even zoom photos have more color and better lighting, though we do miss the 10x zoom from the last generation. Performance: this is the fastest phone you can buy right now. In our tests playing games and editing photos, the Galaxy S24 Ultra was the fastest we've used, beating even Apple's iPhone 15 Pro. That's a first for Samsung phones ever since Apple starting designing its own chipsets. Battery life: I had no trouble using the Galaxy S24 Ultra for 2 days when I used it normally, and it lasted through a full day of camera usage and gaming with no trouble. The battery hasn't gotten bigger. Samsung manages power on this phone better than ever before. Value for money: the Galaxy S24 Ultra is expensive, even more than last year, but the upgrades are a big deal. Samsung now offers 7 years of software updates, including Android updates, and that makes the Galaxy S24 Ultra a better value than any Galaxy Ultra to come before. Number 2. Samsung Galaxy A54. The A54 is essentially a light version of the Galaxy S family, bringing lots of S-range features to a lower price point. It's not the absolute cheapest phone Samsung makes by some distance, but it unquestionably mid-range, and definitely worth considering if you're on a budget. Design: the phone measures 158.2 x 76.7 x 8.2 mm and weighs 202 g, so we'd call it medium-sized. It's not so big that it's uncomfortable to use, so long as your mitts aren't massive. It's also undeniably attractive, adopting the floating camera design language found on the S24 series. Other colorways are similarly pretty. Display: the Samsung Galaxy A54 boasts one of the best looking screens you'll see on a phone for this price. It's a vibrant, colorful 6.4-inch Super AMOLED panel, with a FHD Plus resolution, 120 Hz refresh rate and 1000 nits max brightness, marking some nice upgrades over its predecessor. Cameras: the main camera is an optically stabilized 50MP f/1.8 sensor, joined by a 12MP ultra-wide and, after ditching its predecessor's depth sensor, thanks to all focus pixels on the new main sensor, a 5MP f/2.4 macro sensor. The snappers take photos that are bright and colorful, which makes shots of wildlife, food, landscapes or people pop. There's good dynamic range for a phone at this price, and pictures are sharp too, as long as you take them on the main camera. Performance: the Galaxy A54 may lap same price rivals in the camera and display departments, but it falls behind on performance. The chip here is the Exynos 1380, which is a homebrewed piece of mid-range kit from Samsung, and, while capable, doesn't measure up to similarly priced rivals. Battery life: The 5,000 mAh battery is on the big side, though we see lots of mid-rangers pack this kind of power. That bright screen and 5G require a lot of juice, and we found that the phone comfortably lasted a day between charges, but no more. Value for money, the Samsung Galaxy A54 gives you some surprisingly top-end specs for its price in some departments, but in others it's weaker than its rivals. Number 3. Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. With the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5, Samsung hasn't tried to reinvent the genre or radically alter the foldables display or design, save for the ability to finally fold flat. Instead, it brings a number of small but welcome enhancements over the Z Fold 4, plus a new processor, but leaves further room for improvement. Design: while the Z Fold 5 isn't radically different from the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, its flat folding form design finally addresses the series' biggest design faux pas. Excellent build quality and IP-certified water resistance make it a trendsetter. Display: the main screen is a 7.6-inch Dynamic AMOLED 2X display with 2176 x 1812 resolution and which supports an adaptive refresh rate of 1 to 120 Hz. The low end of the range is useful for saving battery life by not refreshing the screen when it's not needed, while the high end means smoother gameplay and video action. The cover screen, meanwhile, is a 6.2-inch Dynamic AMOLED panel with a 2316 x 904 resolution. It also has an adaptive refresh rate, but the narrow aspect ratio isn't the best. Camera: the Z Fold 5 has similar sensors underneath, though they're backed by a more powerful chipset here, to the previous two generations of Fold, and the same. There's also a selfie camera on the cover screen, and a low-grade selfie cam under the main screen. Performance: we're happy that the Z Fold 5 has Qualcomm's top-of-the-line Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, as it needs all the power it can get for the multitasking gymnastics it's capable of. Battery life: the battery lasted approximately 15 hours, which is pretty good, though we would have liked more. Still, getting that far is a testament to the chipset's power management capabilities. Value for money: it's one of the most expensive phones, especially if you go for more than the base 256 GB of storage. But if you want the best foldable on the planet, that's the current price you'll have to pay. Number 4. Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Samsung didn't reinvent its clamshell-style foldable, but the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 does all that it needs to do for the company to hold onto its foldable crown. Design: a more prominent improvement compared to the move from the Z Flip 3 to the Flip 4. The black visor has been replaced by a more expansive external cover display and it now officially folds flat. It's also the hardiest clamshell foldable out there, thanks in part to IP-certified water resistance. Display: you get a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus, 2640 x 1080, Dynamic AMOLED 2X panel with a pleasantly smooth 120 Hz refresh rate that can scale down to 1 Hz to extend battery life. The external cover display, which now covers the top half of the phone's exterior, expands functionality massively. Camera: you'll find 3 cameras on the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5, which at first blush look very familiar to those on the Z Flip 4s. Aside from a new lens coating to reduce lens flare, the main upgrades come in the form of image processing improvements and new FlexCam features. Performance: although the Flip 5 focuses on compact portability over the Fold 5's productivity, it doesn't skimp on performance, with Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 Silicon running the show. Battery life: after disappointing longevity from previous entries in the Flip series, the power efficiency of the chip, paired with a 3,700 mAh battery, mean all-day battery life is now possible. Wireless charging in a clamshell is also a welcome novelty. Value for money: there's a lot more competition in the flagship foldable space in the time of the Z Flip 5, but the design, hardware, and software blend means that even at this phone's high price, it's still one of the smartest buys in its category. Number 5. Samsung Galaxy S24. The Samsung Galaxy S24 is the smallest option in the Galaxy S24 family, but it's easily one of the most powerful Android phones you can buy right now. Plus, it's the only one that fits comfortably in your front jeans pocket. Design: the Galaxy S24 comes in more colorful options than the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but it lacks the titanium frame, and Gorilla Armor makes this generation so durable. It's still a sturdy little phone, with IP68 water resistance, and a look that calls back to last year's model. Display: the Galaxy S24 can reach much brighter levels than before, up to 2600 nits, and its 6.1-inch display is still plenty sharp, even though it's a lower resolution than the rest of the S24 family. Cameras: Samsung hasn't changed the specs on the Galaxy S24 cameras, but it has improved the photos you'll end up taking thanks to better image processing. There's a 50MP main lens, 12MP ultra-wide lens, and unlike the iPhone 15, the Galaxy S24 has a 10MP telephoto lens with real 3x optical zoom. Performance: the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor that powers the Galaxy S24 family looks like a real winner. It's incredibly powerful, strong enough to take on even the fastest Apple iPhone 15 Pro, and it doesn't waste a lot of power. It also works great for playing the latest games. Battery life: the Galaxy S24 gets only a slightly bigger battery than the S23, with Samsung jumping from 3,900 mAh to 4,000 mAh. We still got better battery life from this year's model, and most folks will have no trouble lasting through a full day of normal use with the Galaxy S24. Value for money: the Galaxy S24 is an affordable way to take advantage of everything Samsung's Galaxy S has to offer. Of course, you don't get everything the S24 Ultra can give you, but the Galaxy S24 is hundreds cheaper. Number 6. Samsung Galaxy A13. You can save yourself around $1,000, or £1,000 or $1,500, by buying this phone instead of the lowest spec version of the Samsung Galaxy S22 elsewhere in this list. That's a massive saving, though you'd be making some pretty major compromises along the way. It's all a question of what you want from a smartphone, and how much you have to spend. Design: this feels like a phone that's going to last, and we like the way that the rear camera module is embedded into the back of the phone, up in the top left corner, something Samsung did in all of its 2022 Galaxy handsets. Display: the Samsung Galaxy A13 comes with a 6.6-inch, 2408 x 1080 LCD screen that does a decent job with websites, photos, videos, and games. It's suitably bright, vivid, and crisp, and while there's no support for HDR or anything above a 60 Hz refresh rate, we didn't have any real complaints in this regard. Cameras: there's no doubt that spending a bit more money is going to get you a phone camera that captures significantly better pictures, but at the same time the Samsung Galaxy A13 isn't going to let you down most of the time. Performance: you'll be able to run everything you want to be able to run, but you're going to have to put up with slower speeds than you would get from a more expensive handset. Battery life: we tested the phone with an hour of video streaming at a low volume, and with the screen set to maximum brightness, that knocked the battery level down by 10%, suggesting around 10 hours of playback in total. Dim the screen and you'd be able to stretch that out further, so you'd be okay for watching films on long-distance trips. Value for money: if you want value for money and you want Samsung, then the Galaxy A13 is worth a serious look. There are plenty of competing phones even at this low price point, however, including the likes of the Moto G22 and the Nokia G21.